Today, we're diving into a pretty wild idea, one that connects the most modern device in your pocket to some of the most ancient beliefs in human history.
So let me just start with this one big question. What if the most powerful secret of our ancestors isn't buried in some ancient tomb, but it's right there, in the palm of your hand? Not in an app, not in the software, but in its very shape and feel.
I mean, think about the sheer scale of this thing. Over 1 billion people every single day trust this one object with their memories, their money, their whole digital lives. The iPhone is way more than just a piece of tech. It's one of the most influential objects ever made.
But here's where it gets kind of weird. Historians and designers, they started to notice something unsettling. The proportions of the iPhone, the curves, the icon layout, they look eerily similar to patterns used thousands of years ago in places of immense power, like temples and pyramids. So is that just a coincidence, or is something much, much deeper going on here?
So let's get into it. Section 1, the secret in your hand. We need to understand the core concept at play here.
And that concept is sacred geometry. It's this ancient belief that the universe isn't random at all. Instead, it's built on a foundation of perfect, repeating geometric patterns. To the ancients, these shapes were seen as the literal blueprint of reality.
And look, this wasn't just some vague idea. They were talking about specific, foundational patterns that you could see everywhere in nature, from the spiral of a galaxy to the proportions of your own body. You've probably heard of them, patterns like the flower of life, the golden ratio, and the Fibonacci spiral.
Which brings us to our next section, an ancient blueprint. Because this isn't some fringe theory. This is a principle that has literally shaped human creation for thousands of years. I mean, just look at this history. It goes way, way back, from the Great Pyramids of Egypt to the famous Parthenon in Greece, which follows the golden ratio almost perfectly. This idea carried on right through Renaissance art and even into modern architecture. For millennia, we've used these geometric rules to build things that just feel important, balanced, and timeless.
And then, it kind of went quiet for a while. It felt like a lost art. But in the 21st century, when the iPhone was launched, designers started to get that familiar feeling again. The rectangle of the screen, the curve of the corners, the spacing of the icons, it all felt deliberate.
And that leads us right into Section 3, where things get really fascinating: Apple's hidden code.
At first, tech analysts just chalked it up to good design. But then, some independent designers decided to take it a step further. They did something kind of wild. They took these ancient geometric grids, the exact same ones used to design cathedrals and temples, and they laid them right over screenshots of the iPhone's interface.
And the results? Well, they were uncomfortable. The layout of the home screen icons, it matched proportional systems used in Renaissance paintings. The screen's ratio, a perfect match for classical harmonic rectangles. Even the gentle curve of the corners aligned perfectly with arcs from sacred mandalas. I mean, these alignments were just too precise to be a coincidence.
So why? Why would they do this? This quote from a former Apple designer talking about Steve Jobs might be the biggest clue we have. Jobs was obsessed with philosophy and minimalism. For him, design wasn't just about how something looked, it was about how it felt. And ancient geometry is all about creating a specific feel.
This gets us to the real power behind all of this in Section 4, the psychology of shape.
Okay, so this is the key. Studies have shown that our brains are basically hardwired to recognize and trust these natural proportions. When we see them, even if we don't realize it, an object just feels more right, more balanced, more trustworthy. And what that means is, a device built on these principles doesn't just look good, it feels addictive.
And Apple is not the first company to figure this out. I mean, think about it. Why do so many banks, government buildings, and luxury brands use strong, symmetrical, classical geometry in their logos in their buildings? It's simple. Geometry communicates authority. It communicates power and stability.
So what happens when that feeling of authority is baked into an object you hold all day long? The relationship starts to change. The device stops being just a tool that responds to what you want. It starts to subtly guide your behavior.
Which brings us to our final and, frankly, most unsettling section, a tool of control.
You see, here is the great big irony in all of this. Originally, sacred geometry was a tool for spiritual awakening, for connecting a person's consciousness to the entire universe. Today, that same power is being flipped on its head. Instead of connecting you to the universe, it's being used to lock you into the screen.
And the business model behind it is brutally simple.
The beautiful, harmonious design keeps you engaged. Longer screen time means more user data, and that data translates directly into immense wealth and power for these massive tech companies.
So when you think about the future of power and control, maybe we're all looking in the wrong places. Maybe it won't be about armies or new laws. Instead, real control might just come from the silent, persuasive, and perfectly proportioned objects we willingly carry with us everywhere we go.
So the next time you pick up your phone, just pause for a second. Look at its symmetry, its balance, and then ask yourself, after everything we've just talked about, is this device truly serving you, or are you serving it?